Hello, everybody. Welcome back to this year tropical update for July 3rd. We're currently watching Major Hurricane Beryl making its way towards Jamaica now, the Cayman Islands tomorrow, the Yucatan Peninsula on Friday, and as we head into the weekend, potentially the northern Mexico and southern Texas coastlines. Let's move on to the impact map. We will talk about Invest 96L just briefly at the end of the video, no longer likely to develop. Still significant risk for the island of Jamaica, mainly due to those winds from the eye wall, as we still have a major hurricane on our hands. Rainfall will also be a concern, as well as storm surge 6 to 9 feet in those areas. The Cayman Island also need to be watching out for the systems that will pass close by, but it will be weakening after it passes Jamaica. It, in fact, is already on that weakening trend. So as it heads toward the Cayman Islands, a bit weaker, still a bit weaker, but also still a Category 2 hurricane by the time it makes it to the Yucatan Peninsula on Friday. And then it becomes a tropical storm before becoming a hurricane once more over the Gulf of Mexico and then making landfall in either northern Mexico or southern Texas. And so we'll continue to monitor that. Thus, we have upgraded the Mexico and Texas border area, coastal region, to a moderate risk due to those winds and possibly storm surge as well. Again, it's too early to know what that storm surge might be. Here's the latest satellite presentation of Beryl. As we can see here, there is no clear eye in the storm anymore. Nonetheless, there is an eye wall that exists. And in fact, even though the storm is sheared and there's a clear displacement of convection, as you can see near southwestern Haiti at the moment, there's in almost nothing on the western side of the storm or the southern side of the storm. It's still a formidable hurricane. We still have a Category 4 hurricane as of the latest recon passes, which continue to identify this as a Category 4 hurricane with winds of 145 miles an hour. As a result of this and its expected land impacts, the following watches and warnings are in effect. We have a tropical storm warning in effect for the southwestern coast of Haiti that will expire probably within the next few hours or so. We have a hurricane warning in effect for Jamaica, Grand Cayman, Little Cayman, and Cayman Bronc, as well as a hurricane warning just issued from Puerto Costa Maya to Cancun in Mexico. Tropical storm warnings and hurricane watches are in effect from Puerto Costa Maya to Chetumal, as well as from Cancun to Cabo Catoche in Mexico. That's both the north and the south sides of that hurricane warning are under both a tropical storm warning and a hurricane watch. Tropical storm watches are in effect for Belize from the Belize-Mexico border down to Belize City, as well as from Mexico from Cabo Catoche down to Campeche. In Mexico, I will expect that watch to get extended further to the south with time, not too much further, but a little bit further with time. And then again, of course, we're expecting watches probably to be issued by the end of this week, or early in the weekend, over the course of northern Mexico and southern Texas, if things hold as they are. Oh, and real quick, as I mentioned earlier, storm surge 6 to 9 feet. We'll talk about rainfall here in a second. The latest statistic to add to Beryl's record-breaking streaks here, the stat sheet, is that the 2024 hurricane season now has the third most ACE on record. ACE is a metric that we use. We basically like square the intensity of the storm as measured in knots, not miles per hour, but in knots, for anything tropical storm and higher. And we add all of that up every 6 hours. And that tells us basically how much energy is being output by these storms. And so this is the third most we've ever had through July 2nd on record, behind 1886 and 1951. That's right. So we're ahead of 2005. We're ahead of 2020. We're ahead of several other recent years in memory that you might know. We're ahead of 1933. And so, yeah, we're ahead at the moment, but it's mainly due to Beryl. And so if we don't get another storm soon, we'll level back out into the normal playing field here before long. As you can see, the intensity guidance is all over the place, from maintaining this thing as a Cat 3 to going down to tropical storm and then becoming a Cat 3 again by the time it reaches Mexico or Texas, northern Mexico or Texas, to becoming a tropical storm and then re-intensifying maybe into a Category 1 hurricane. Still a lot to be decided. The Hurricane Center going with that kind of middle of the road approach. It's not going to fizzle the storm out by the time it hits the Yucatan, but it's going to bring it to a hurricane, and then the Yucatan Peninsula being over land will weaken it somewhat, and then it'll regain some strength as it enters the Gulf of Mexico. Now, how far north does depend on how strong the storm gets. If it heads further to the north, somewhere like Houston, something like that, we could, like the HWRF shows, that's that purple model, the HWFI and the HWFR. On this map here, if we consider that, then yeah, that's quite possible because it has more time over the Gulf of Mexico to reorganize itself and become a major hurricane once again. But the alternative solution, and at this point, the most likely solution, is around the Texas Mexico border. Again, that's what we've been kind of looking at for the past several days, but still, it's not out of the question. The other thing we've been mentioning for the past several days is that it could parallel the coastline in a certain type of way. And again, that's where that storm surge could become a big concern. Again, too early to tell how bad those impacts will be. It's also too early to tell the rainfall impacts to the main part of North America, but it is early enough to see what's going to happen in Jamaica. In fact, Jamaica already expecting a significant amount of rain. We're calling for 8 to 12, perhaps even more locally, and perhaps up to 10 inches in places like Cozumel and Cancun. So that's worth noting. Rainfall is a major concern with this storm. And as you can see, winds will also be a concern with this storm. Another thing worth noting, if you take like the center of this map here, this wind probability map, yeah, you would go into Mexico, but note how the National Hurricane Center has expanded the probabilities on the north side of this map here and not on the south side. Part of that's due to land, but the other reason for that, I think, is because of those potentials shown in the models that we have a northward turn right before the coastline, which could again be quite frankly devastating to these coastlines, depending on how close it gets to the coast before making that northward turn. And so we still have a lot of time until that would be a concern. Again, most likely earliest reasonable time of arrival, will be Saturday evening along the coastline. Again, we're looking at Thursday evening over the Yucatan, and yeah, Jamaica's already in the thick of it. So that's that. The only other things Invest 96L currently bringing a lot of rain over Barbados and Lesser Antilles, which just got hammered by Beryl not too long ago. 20% chance of formation within the next 7 days, not really likely to develop, and most models aren't developing it anymore. That's all for now. Chris Dixon and Weather Media.